think those were the only 2 classes I did well in. Yeah. Yep, that was it. So, anyways, let's go back to February 7th. So I have that realization that this is probably confirmation. But I seek people, you know. I ask them, what do you think I should do? Do you think I should take a gap year? And they're like, no, it might not be good. But the funny thing is I would have conversations with these people about how doing something for God may be the opposite of what man would expect or man would suggest. But after every single one of those conversations, I would bring up, okay, it's funny you say that. I'm actually thinking about taking a gap year. What do you think? They would say, oh no, you shouldn't do it. But it wasn't until, and I'll say, okay, one of them, who's my life group leader, her name is Abby. She prayed with me, and she said that God showed her a picture of me going one way, or no, I think it was me looking at like a crowd or something, and that like God was good with it or whatever. Like that's what God sees you doing. And I was like, oh, wow, well thank you. Still, shouldn't take a gap year. But anyways, it was a very frustrating week because it was from like Tuesday until Friday. And on Saturday, February 11th, I had an event to put on for a philosophy neighborhood. I was supposed to present Fantastic Mr. Fox. Anyways, it was a very frustrating week. On February 10th, I went to a worship night with my life group section, I guess you could say. We went to a different house, and I was not even in the mood for worship. When I was texted or called, asked if I want to go still, I was like barely in the mood. But I went because I was like, I shouldn't stop praising God, you know, just because I'm frustrated with life. So I went, and I was sort of to myself. I was looking around the house. I thought it was pretty cute. But I was always just to myself. And whenever they would say, okay, we want you to pray for this, we want you to pray for this, because someone was going out to do ministry in Turkey, I think. I was not praying for them because I knew that my heart wasn't there. So I was praying where my heart was, which was, what does he want to do with my life, you know? And that night, a girl who was in my life group last semester but wasn't this semester, so she had no idea what I was going through. She comes up to me, and her name was Anne, or Annie. She comes up to me and she says, hi Precious, God is showing me a picture of you going one way and people going another way, and he's okay with that. And when she said that, I had to sit down. It was this feeling of disbelief, relief, but at the same time just like, wow, this is gonna happen. There's gonna be some disappointment. And that was the day that I was like, okay, God, it's clear that you want to take me one way, even though other people are advising me to go what's the common way. So I'm gonna take a gap year. Like that was all I was thinking at the time. I didn't think I was gonna drop out. So I go home for spring break. The following, like, no, it was in like March, because I remember coming back March 2012. Anyways, I was thinking I was going to drop out of school the way I was feeling, but I ended up finishing the school year, which was good, because if I dropped out, I wouldn't have been able to go to NLC. I wouldn't have been able to at least try and transfer some credits, because with logic, I had transferable credits, you know.
So I was glad I finished. It looked good on me for the moment that it needed to look good on me. Yeah, my dad was not happy about even the ideas I was discussing with him. He was thinking that I was being influenced by somebody. He thought I was getting brainwashed. The irony is, at a certain point, I stopped really having friends that I had close to me, where they would know everything I'm going through, and there was a moment where I started limiting that. Though at the same time, I would still be very open to people, and I would be very open to my roommate. There's something that I've shared with my roommate and my life group leader that I have not shared with more than 7 people. Those 7 people being, first, this girl at church who was random. Who's not really that random. She was in my English class. Her name was Nephew. I shared with her. Then I shared with my life group leader. Then I shared with my roommate. Then I shared with my brother. Then I shared with my dad. And then I shared with, I'm skipping somebody, but I shared with my recent friend, Arletta. And there's somebody else that I shared with, but I don't remember who. I have it written in one of my journals. It's sometime during like Baylor times. Anyways, yeah. Me taking a gap year wasn't a great idea, but fortunately it wasn't a decision that was completely made by me. Baylor said, "Precious, you are on academic probation." Or no, dismissal. So I could not go to Baylor for the summer or the fall. I could have returned in the spring, but I did not. I ended up going to NLC again, which I'm really glad I did. I went to NLC. I met an amazing professor for my fall semester. His name was Dr. Sadler. Very nice. Very comforting in my situation, very comforting. He was someone who I really talked to about everything. The way I used to talk to my dad, I talked to him that way. And I was really grateful to have him for my first professor outside of Baylor. I hope to see him again soon, even though I'm doing this whole thing now. And by the way, in that semester, that was when I met a veteran named Jerry, who I haven't talked to, but his name is Jerry, and he called me a Baylor bailout. So that's where that came from. And I think I said that in another p+log, so no need to repeat, but I just felt like reminding. Anyways, in the spring semester, I was in another philosophy class. I was in 2 philosophy classes, but one was with a different professor for the second one. And that was where, philosophically, I really tried more things. In Baylor, I was very much in this bubble of what ideas I was okay with trying or testing. In theory, of course. But being in his class, his name's Mr. Gillespie, very good professor. I was very scared. There was a time where I had to even ask my former philosophy professor, Dr. Sadler, because now he was my philosophy film. But anyways, my first, philosophy professor at NLC, I had to ask him, "What do you think about Mr. Gillespie?" And Mr. Gillespie knows about this. And I remember in the beginning when I told him that story, I think he was insulted, even though I didn't tell him right away. Anyways, Dr. Sadler said, "I respect this man. He's a good professor. You should take him." And I was like, okay. And it was after he said it that I had full trust. But before then, I was very scared of taking his class. Then I was in philosophy club. I was a secretary, but I was doing a lot more than a secretary. I was basically being a secretary and vice president because we already had a president. And working with him is what gave me the idea to use notepads like this. And I bought this one. Anyways, it was when I was in that time of my life that I realized I can really, really work hard for something when I see a vision for it or an end goal in it. And for me, I really believe that philosophy club could do something for the school and for the people who go there, you know. Then now we can fast forward to the summer of this past year, the summer that I haven't really been able to p+log about, but this past summer has been really good to me. It's been really good for what I said I want to work on. If you remember, I said that I want to work on discipline. It was in the p+log where I was talking about how being patient has really changed the way I am. And now the next thing I want to focus on to really sharpen. Not that patience was done with, of course, but it was a focus. My focus was discipline. And, you know, I got a lot of practice for that when I went to Baltimore with my family. I was there for almost a month, more than a month, almost 2 months, because I came back on the 30th of August, and I was in Kenya for about 2 weeks, from the 15th to, you know, the 28th. So I was there for about 2 weeks. But for the most part, being in Baltimore, it was like being trained on being, you know, disciplined and finishing things on a list. Like if dishes needs to be done, the dishes are getting done. If there are chores that need to be done, the chores are being done. If the kids haven't been fed, the three musketeers, they're so cute. If they haven't been fed, they need to be fed. If breakfast hasn't been prepared, tea, all of that stuff. If vegetables need to be chopped, if ugali needs to be made, so many things I really learned, and I appreciate my family, especially my cousins, because that was who I was around the most of the time. I'll even mention one of the catalytic events that happened before Baltimore that really triggered me to want to be more helpful and more available for people. There is this event that happened before we left for Baltimore where I was like, why hasn't anyone told me? You know, I would have done something. My cousin, Howie, and I've told him this, my cousin Howie told me, we didn't tell you because we knew you wouldn't want to come. That's how lazy I am to them. And that was the moment I realized, wow, even to be helpful, you can't be like, you know, just doing your own thing. You have to be hardworking. So I took it much more seriously that day. I would do dishes more. I loved doing the dishes, and I still do. I like doing the dishes. In fact, I need to do them today while I'm on my day off. But I liked doing dishes. I liked doing chores. I liked having people relax so that they can focus on doing other things while the chores are being done, you know? So, yeah, I became much more hardworking, doing what needs to be done because it needs to be done. And that was basically how the beginning of my efforts to be more disciplined has gone. But
it was while I was in Baltimore. This is the part that I finally wanted to get to. An hour and a minute and 46 seconds into this raw video. It was after almost a month of being in Baltimore that I came to the decision that I need to quit school for my career. And the way that it occurred, you can't really see it here because it's blurred out here, the water. I was using a marker pen. But here you can see the date, because I always sign off my journals with the date as well. But yeah, I was on a walk. I was on a walk to see the sunrise. So I love to see the sunrise. I love to see the different colors that come about. I love to see the silver linings. I love that. And I wanted to see it again because it's been such a long time since I've had to wake up early, not having to go to school for the summer. There was no reason for me to be up early, but I was like, I want to see the sunrise. It is beautiful. On my way to seeing the sunrise, I saw a rock. It's very sparkly. And I picked it up. But I continued my journey, and I saw the sunrise. But then, oh, there's something I missed. Let me start over. So, I am walking. I'm on this walk to see the sunrise. And I was supposed to go with my cousin, but she was tired. And I'm not someone who likes to insist. So, I just let her sleep still. I'm walking. I see this rock. It's very sparkly. It's beautiful. Inspiring. And as I'm walking with that rock now, I see a bunch of other rocks in this pile. And I'm like, oh, I should put this rock with its friends. But I didn't put it in the pile. I just put it there so I could see that that was the rock. Even though it wasn't completely the same, but it was just it was similar enough to where people would think that that rock belongs there too. Continue walking now, and I see the sunrise, and it's beautiful. I enjoy it. I soak it in a little bit. Then I walk back to the apartment, and as I'm walking back, I realize I'm taking the exact same path, and it's like, oh, the rock still there. And you know what? I enjoyed the sun just as much as I would have whether or not I had it. And I didn't have it that time. And that's when I had my epiphany. I was like, is there a rock that I'm carrying unnecessarily that is almost a distraction from me really looking for the sun? The sun being God, the sun being Jesus, the sun being the glory of heaven. I was trying to figure out, what is that rock? I even asked if it was this YouTube channel. I asked if it was philosophy, because at a point it was. There was a moment in the spring semester of 2018, last academic semester, where I was putting philosophy before God in many ways. And I really had to question, what am I doing? I call it now a spirit of Gideon. I can elaborate on that later, but I knew it wasn't philosophy anymore, because that moment I had before pretty much scared me enough. So I was like, okay, is it school or is it this YouTube channel? And there are many thoughts that came. I could read this, but you know what? I'll read it. I'll stutter a little bit because sometimes even I can't understand my handwriting. But here we go. August 4th, 2018 journal.
and I titled it East is Up, and I Didn't Need a Rock. So here's the thing. I had an alarm for 5 that went off at 6 because I wanted to see the sunrise. However, by the time my alarm went off, which was a few minutes earlier, my body must have anticipated. The sky already had light. That's alright though. I knew Maya still probably wanted some alone time, so I woke her up. She ended up wanting to snooze, and I said I'm going anyways. Side note, I'm writing this story to decipher if first to interpret this revelation, and then to see what the true interpretation is. That education is a waste. I'm starting to have a different theory though. We'll share that at the end. So I leave the apartment, going up the hill that Maya and I were supposed to climb as our front row seats to it all. But I saw not much light, so I decided to explore. I went to the parts of the apartment I didn't even know it was the same company. I ended up leaving the subdivision with my half-asleep self. I went all the way to Valley Mansion to go towards the brighter light. That way, I know